Hi everyone, it's Instructor Driver again, and I'm going to show you how to properly format an essay MLA style. I know many of you know how to do this already from English 101. However, this will include the citation list and some information about how to correctly format a citation within your document. So first things first, a lot of you have a tendency not to insert your last name and page number into the header. Here's how you do that. You click on Insert, then you locate Page Number at the top of the screen. I'm in Word. Then you find top of the page and you look for plain number 3. Click on that, then type in your last name. Now notice, I'm going to go back to home again. Notice that the font is not 12 font Times New Roman, which is the font that you should use in your essay. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight my last name and page number, click on the font style, and change it to Times New Roman. Then I'm going to change the style to 12 and click on anywhere in your text. Now you have your name, your last name, and your page number embedded into your header, which is how it should be formatted. Now then you want to enter in your name, so I'm going to enter in my name, and then I'm going to enter in my instructor's name, then I'm going to enter in the course and the date. Now one of the things that I did do here is I spaced it myself, but you also want to make sure you set up your essay so it automatically double spaces. So one of the ways to do this is highlight your text, go into paragraph, and then see where it says spacing before and after. You want the before to be set to 0, and then you want the after to be set to 0 as well, or you're going to have too much spacing in between each of your paragraphs. See where it says line spacing and it's set to multiple? You want to change that to double. Then click OK. Okay? So that's how you set your spacing to be double spaced. Now notice again that the font is not 12 font Times New Roman, so I highlight my text and then I change the font to Times New Roman. Then, of course, after your cover letter, you want to enter in a title. So go ahead and center your title, and then you're ready to begin. Always tab in your paragraphs, of course, and then you enter in your text. And then I wanted to show you a little something. Let's say you want to have a new paragraph. Notice how the spacing is consistent though. It's consistently double spaced. You don't have extra spacing in between your paragraphs. Let's say you want to create a works cited list. So go ahead and go to your next page. Notice how my last name and page number are on every page because I have embedded it into my header. Click on Center again, then enter Works Cited. Do not put a colon there. Do not put anything like that in there. Do not give this any extra special fonts, like let's say make it a 22 and then bold it. No, just keep it at 12 font Times New Roman. The font should be consistent throughout your essay. Then go ahead and hit enter, and you're ready to enter in your first citation. What I'm going to do is go back. And remember in an earlier lesson, I showed you how to find a cited source within EBSCO. What I'm going to do now is highlight that same source again and cut and paste it into my essay. So I'm going to return. I'm going to cut and paste that source into my essay, but I'm not going to leave it like this because this still isn't formatted. It doesn't do everything for you. It does set it up for you correctly, but it isn't perfectly formatted yet, because first of all it's not the correct font, so I have to go ahead and change that to Times New Roman and 12, of course, and then this is going to bother me. Smaller words should not be capitalized. Okay, then notice your source here. You want to create a hanging indent. How do you do that? A lot of you try to do this. That's an indent, but that's not a hanging indent. What you have to do is indent the second line right here. Unfortunately, if you just click tab, what's going to happen? The whole thing tabs to the right. You don't want to do that. So how do you create a hanging indent? A lot of students are confused about this. Well, before you hit tab, you hit enter. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to click tab. And see how that creates a hanging indent? Then, when I want to do my next source, I hit backspace to get rid of the tab. Control V, then I change the font again to Times New Roman, change that to 12. Then I'm going to want to create another hanging indent, click on enter, hit tab. And that's how you create a perfectly formatted citation list. Of course, put this in alphabetical order and make sure that it's formatted with the same spacing throughout the citation list. Now, how would you put this within your essay? How would you create an in-text citation for this? So let's say you wanted to cite these two authors. So first of all, you want to integrate the citation. So I'm just going to say so-and-so authors of da-da-da-da-da explain. Ooh, let me take that apostrophe out of there. Explain that, and then you put in your quotation. However, well, actually, let me change that. You put in your quotation, but you do not put a period at the end of the quotation and then enter in the two authors' names. That would be incorrect. Take out that period, remove it, and put it following the parentheses. Okay? Notice the difference here? You put it at the end of the parentheses, not in between the quotation and the quoted material. Unless, and here's one exception, or two exceptions actually, unless you're adding an exclamation point or a question mark. Then you would put the period there. Let's say this work does not have an author. In 102, technically, all of your work should have authors because you should be using peer-reviewed sources. But let's say your work does not have an author. Okay? So how would you create an in-text citation for that? So let's go ahead and try it. Okay. I'm going to change the how I integrate that quote, of course, quotation, of course. And then in the in-text citation, what I would put is what comes first in the citation. Here, it is the article title. So I'm going to put a shortened version of the article title in the parentheses. You put what comes first in the citation list because oftentimes, and you'll see this in the peer-reviewed sources, you have a number of citations and you want your reader to easily locate the source that you're referring to. So that's why you always want to put what comes first. Here's what I don't want to see. Don't do that. Don't put the website inside the in-text citation. In fact, there shouldn't be any websites at all in your essay. You do not need to put any web addresses, inside your essay at all. You do not need to do that in MLA. Also, don't do this. Well, I'm probably going to spell the name wrong. You don't need to put no page. You don't need to guess a page. You don't need to guess the page that could possibly be true. You don't need to put any page at all because unless you have the PDF version, which actually this you probably do, and unless that PDF version is paginated, you don't need to use page numbers. Okay? Also, let's go back over here again. Let's say you state the author's name in the quotation. So, do you need to have the in-text citation? No, because you have mentioned the authors in the text of your sentence. So you don't need to enter it again in an in-text citation. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. But if not, go ahead and post your question to the open forum, or if it's a personal question, feel free to send me a message. I hope this helps you a little bit, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.